We will now take what we have learned about the definite integral and apply it to what we know about economics. We now have an understanding of the fundamental theorem of calculus, which says that the integral from a to b of f prime of t dt equals f of b minus f of a. We saw in the last video that by using a equals 0, we get that the integral from 0 to b of f prime of t dt equals f of b minus f of 0. And solving for f of b, this becomes f of b equals f of 0 plus the integral from 0 to b of f prime of t dt. This means that by using the definite integral, we can find the function f of t at any value t equals b if we know the starting value f of 0 and the derivative f prime of t. This can be useful because oftentimes it is easier to find how fast something is changing, that is, how to find its derivative, than it is to find a function itself. As an example of this, recall the cost function c of q. Remember that c of q equals the fixed cost plus the variable cost. And its derivative, c prime of q, is the marginal cost. Using what we just found, we can write c of b equals c of 0 plus the integral from 0 to b of c prime of q dq. Notice here that our fixed cost, or upfront cost, is c of 0. That is, this is how much we have to spend before we've produced anything. Which means what we're left with, the variable cost, is the integral from 0 to b of c prime of q dq. Or if we want to put this all in terms of the marginal cost, we have that c of b equals our fixed cost, c of 0, plus the variable cost, which is the integral from 0 to b of marginal cost at q dq. Let's now use this to compute an example. Suppose that you are selling tomato plants. You have an upfront cost of $100 with a marginal cost given by mc of q equals 1 plus 2e to the negative 0.1 q. How much will it cost to produce 200 plants? To answer this, let's transition our question into a question about our functions. The term, how much will it cost, is asking, what is c of q? And the phrase 200 plants means when q equals 200. So we want to know, what is c of q when q equals 200? In other words, what is c of 200? We can answer this using the fundamental theorem. C of 200 equals c of 0 plus the integral from 0 to 200 of 1 plus 2e to the negative 0.1 q dq. To figure this out, we need to know what c of 0 is. We get that information from the fact that our upfront cost was $100. So c of 0 equals 100, which means that c of 200 equals 100 plus the integral from 0 to 200 of 1 plus 2e to the negative 0.1 q dq. And this integral we can compute with our calculators to be roughly 220. So c of 200 is 320. So we can conclude that it will cost $320 to produce 200 tomato plants.